All right, so before we start roasting our city, I just want to let you know, we want to be clear, there are tons of great things about Kansas City. More pros than there are cons, but we wouldn't be doing you justice if we didn't tell you some of the things that drive us absolutely nuts. If you think about moving to the area, these are good things that you should probably know, whether you need to prepare for them or if Kansas City is just not the area for you.
Yeah, and as much as we love doing these videos for you guys, we also love to help you with all your real estate needs. So if you want to look at some properties, give Curtis a call. If you have questions on financing properties, you know where to find me. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell button down at the bottom so you get notifications every time we come out with a new video.
All right, let's jump into it. All right, so we've compiled a list of about 7 things that are probably not the best things about Kansas City or living in the Midwest in general. They kind of drive us nuts, but I think it's important to know if you're thinking about living here. The first thing is kind of low-hanging fruit. It's the weather. I say that because we're kind of in the middle of winter right now, and winters here suck. I mean, yeah, it gets cold, but we don't get a lot of snow, so it's not like you can go up to the mountains and go snow skiing. It's really just cold and gloomy. We get 4 seasons, which is great, but I think you get kind of the extreme in the winter and the extreme in the summer, and so you've got to be ready for everything, and it changes on a dime. I mean, in 1 week, you can go from negative 30 degrees with a wind chill to golfing in 50-degree weather 3 days later, which is kind of wild. We do get spring and fall. They seem to be very short. You don't get a lot of beautiful fall leaves. You don't get a ton of the nice spring weather that you can enjoy, you know, without being too hot. The weather seems to just be hit and miss in Kansas City.
The other fun thing about the weather too is severe storms.
Yeah.
So our spring, we can always have severe weather, which that could be anything from thunderstorms to tornadoes. So we are in Tornado Alley.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I've never been involved in a tornado, but there always seems to be 1 or 2 around Kansas City or in the Kansas City metro every year. So that's something to consider as well. We don't have hurricanes, which is good.
That's great.
But we do have tornadoes. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're not from the Midwest or you don't really understand tornadoes, they can be pretty destructive. I mean, I would say every year we probably have a half dozen to a dozen tornadoes like in our area that we hear about. And most of the time they don't cause too much destruction.
Yeah, they're just in like farm fields.
Yeah,
most of the time.
But the bad ones can absolutely ravage a city. I mean, it can just decimate it. I think like 2 or 3 years ago, one went through Sedalia, and like for an 8-mile stretch, it just leveled everything. So this is a good thing. If you're gonna move to Kansas City, when you're looking at houses, you should probably consider a basement or any sort of storm shelter. If you're looking at a house that doesn't have a basement, maybe you should think of plans of like, hey, maybe I should go to my neighbors, or if I got friends that live nearby, because you really do need that tornado protection if one comes through town. Otherwise, you know, your house might collapse on you.
Yeah, it's not to keep harping on tornadoes, but most homes in Kansas City area do have basements. And that's a big reason why. If you come from an area that has no basements and most homes are on slabs, it may be a shock to you as to why we have basements, but definitely consider getting a home with one if you've.
So, all right, on to number 2.
The lack of outdoor activities or experiences. So we don't have any like beaches nearby or mountains to do much of anything. Really the only thing we have is like a lake/river pretty close, which is Lake of the Ozarks. The Kansas City area does have a ton of small lakes that you can do like some boating activities, but nothing like an ocean or mountains or anything. There are some activities you can do outdoors. You know, we've got bike trails, and pickleball seems to be really big right now.
Yeah, this isn't to say like you can't do anything outdoors in Kansas City. You're not going to be stuck inside for the rest of your life if you move to Kansas City. Like Denver is right next to the mountains. You can go snow skiing in the winter. Florida, you can go to the beach. There's beaches everywhere.
Yep.
But around here, you got to get a little bit more creative. Biking seems to be a big one. As far as outdoor entertainment, we've got Starlight Theater, which is like outdoor concert.
The nice thing about Kansas City though is we are centrally located in the United States. So you're really not far from beaches or mountains, whichever one you prefer. So that's a nice thing about being centrally located here in Kansas City.
All right, so coming in at number 3 is the public transportation, or lack thereof. You know, in some of the bigger metro cities around the country, you've got things like subways or light rails that'll bring, you know, different suburbs into the cities. We don't really have anything like that. We live in the suburbs, so pretty much our entire travel experience or transportation is based around our cars. The good thing is Kansas City has a relatively low gas price compared to the country. So we do have a rail car system that starts in the kind of middle part of downtown, and it goes straight south through the crossroads, and I think currently it stops by Union Station.
Yep, yes.
The good news is they are expanding that, so that will help a little bit. We do have a public bus transit system, but you know, like I said, we don't have a major subway or light rail system.
But yeah, the streetcar is what they call our light rail, and eventually you'll be able to do anything from the plaza all the way up to downtown, which is great. You can't go from suburbs to downtown with it. Really just takes you around downtown.
Yeah, if you're gonna live in Kansas City, you're probably gonna need a car. There are limitations if you don't have a car, which is fine. But if you have a car, we've got the 435 loop, which is a big highway that circles Kansas City. That makes it super great to get around town. Plenty of other major highways like I-70 and 71 highway that go straight through Kansas City. So if you're thinking about moving to Kansas City, I hope you have a car.
Yes, and even in our downtown, it's typically very easy to find. I know a lot of
parking garages.
Yes, some metros have just terrible parking,
yeah,
and which is why people don't have cars. But you won't have that problem here. So if you're coming from a place that you don't need a car, you definitely want to get a car here in Kansas City, but you'll get its use out for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
On to the next.
All right, so coming in at number 4 is out-of-state investors. And this is really only going to be an issue for somebody like me or Taylor who does this every day, or if you are looking for a house to buy. Probably have read or have seen somewhere, if you're looking to move into the Kansas City area, that we have very affordable home prices. That's great. However, that also has attracted a lot of out-of-state investors who live in California or New York or Chicago that need places to plug their money into. Real estate is such a great way to invest your money. They said, hey, Kansas City's got cheap home prices. Let's go buy up a bunch of those. I wouldn't say that they have driven the prices up dramatically, but quite a while there, the last few years, if you were a home buyer, and especially in the entry-level home price, you most likely had to compete with these out-of-state investors. And it was a little bit tough because they can come to the table with all cash. They can generally close really quickly, and they generally didn't ask for a whole bunch of repairs. So it was tough to compete with them. But if you have a good realtor and a really good pre-approval, you can compete with them.
Yeah, and this isn't going to be not everyone can have to compete with these guys, right? And I think it's driven up like you said, the entry level price point. Mm-hmm. It's driven that up higher. You can still compete with them as long as you have a local pre-approval letter and you have a knowledgeable local real estate agent. A lot of the people in Kansas City, like listing agents, would rather have someone that's going to own the property as their primary residence purchase the home instead of an out-of-town investor. Those agents are really good at making sure that you have every opportunity to win that offer over that out-of-town investor.
Yeah, and even in some areas, there are even restrictions on out-of-state investors. Not really out-of-state investors, but rentals, which is what these out-of-town investors want to do. So having somebody that has been in this business for a number of years and has that experience and has that knowledge can really help you out. I would say don't let the fact that out-of-state investors are buying up homes here scare you or deter you. It is something you should be mindful of and make sure that you're talking to the right people so that you have the right strategy moving forward.
And if real estate investing is something that you would like more information on or something that you've thought of, Kansas City is a great place to do that as well. On to number 5. So coming in at number 5 on our list is road construction. And this ties into number 3 with the public transit. So because we don't have much public transit, everyone uses the interstates and the roads and all the streets around town. So they're always expanding those, always working on those. It also ties into weather. Because we have such drastic weather, from hot to cold, snow to nothing so quickly, that deteriorates our roads quicker. And so it seems to be always, always, always doing work on the roads here in Kansas City.
Listen, I'm not a scientist, but I'm going to make a claim here, and somebody can try and back me up here if this is true. In the winter, when we have the snows, the city puts out salt all over the road. And it's great because it melts the snow really, really quickly, but it also kind of wreaks havoc on not only your car, like your tires, your rims, everything underneath. But I assume that it probably gets down into the cracks and the crevices of the asphalt, of the concrete, and with the changing weather that we have so much, I'm sure that has to contribute to it to some degree.
Yeah, so the jokes on Facebook right now are like, the potholes are as big as homes. So yeah, we do have potholes here. You must avoid them on the highways. I've seen people pop their tires from potholes.
Have you pre-approved anybody for a pothole yet?
Not yet, but give it another. We've got one more month, and we'll get another snow, and then we will be
24 hours on the market, and we'll have 5 offers, and bring your highest and best by Sunday evening.
Yes. So
just be aware that yes, you're probably going to have a car if you're going to live in the Kansas City area, and be aware that there's going to be a lot of road closures and detours. Google Maps does a great job of knowing where those are. I don't really know how they get that data, whether people are inputting that or if it's just totally AI, I don't know, but Google Maps is your friend.
Number 6.
All right, number 6, our airport. This is a little bit controversial. The locals for decades believed that we had a fantastic airport, mostly because of its convenience of getting in and out. It's kind of this circular 3-terminal system. You can pull your car right up to pretty much right to the gate.
Yeah.
Hop out, do your bag check in, and then go right into your gate, which is great. It is a little bit dated, I will admit.
Yes.
Also because it's because it's the 3-terminal and the way that it's laid out.
Like a clover leaf.
Yeah, kind of like a clover leaf. Because of the way that it's laid out, I guess a lot of these major airlines don't like it because it's not as efficient. So because of that, we don't see a ton of nonstop flights like you can get from LAX or in New York or whatever. You get a lot of, they got to ship you out and you got to have layovers to different places. The good news is they are almost done with a brand new Kansas City International Airport. I've seen pictures, I've seen renderings, and even some YouTube videos. It is state of the art. It's going to be totally different. It's going to be a 1-terminal airport. You're going to have tons of restaurants, shopping. I assume that that's probably going to bring a lot more of the airlines to Kansas City, so you may not have that issue, especially if you're like a traveling salesperson, medical sales or whatever, and you do a lot of flying. I could see Kansas City not being a great choice for you. Hopefully this new airport is going to fix those things.
Yeah, one of the, biggest downfalls to the current airport was you couldn't get anything to eat during the week after 5 o'clock. No restaurants, everything's closed down. Even the Starbucks closed at 4:30. So this new airport, which is opening late spring, early summer, it's what we're being told. We'll have solutions for all of that.
Yeah. All right, so the final thing on our list that just drives us nuts about Kansas City is the fact that Kansas City is right in between 2 states, Kansas and Missouri. We have been fighting this all our life. Anytime we tell somebody that we're from Kansas City, or if we hear about it on the news, we've been hearing a lot recently with the Kansas City Chiefs being so well, everybody says Kansas City, Kansas. I understand why they make this mistake, but Kansas City actually originated in Kansas City, Missouri. Kansas City, Missouri is actually a bigger city than Kansas City, Kansas.
So Kansas City, Missouri, the city came first.
Correct.
And then the state of Kansas came last.
Correct. And so I totally see why people get that confused. But if you live here, you're going to be constantly explaining that to people, so get ready for that.
Yes.
There are some differences between the 2 states, so in some ways I think you can see that as a positive. If you live in the Kansas side, there are some restrictions on alcohol sales.
Yes.
You used to live there. Explain those.
Yeah.
things.
So it varies by county, but Kansas didn't serve, for the longest time, you couldn't buy any alcohol on Sundays in Kansas. Now you can, but you can't buy it in grocery stores. It has to be in a liquor store. Where in Missouri, you can go to the grocery store or Target or Walmart.
Yeah, so the great thing is if you have to deal with those issues living on the Kansas side, you just pop over to the Missouri side. It takes 10 minutes. Not that big a deal. Same thing if you live in Missouri. One big thing that just came about is sports betting. Just got legalized in Kansas.
Yep, not Missouri.
And yeah, not Missouri. So Some of our friends partake in sports gambling, so they can just take a 10-minute drive across the state line, go set the bets, and then come back across.
The other thing is Missouri just passed marijuana to be legalized in the next couple months. So you'll come over here to Missouri to buy your weed, and then you'll go to Kansas to sports gambling.
If you're from Denver, let us know. Drop a comment below. Let us know what it was like whenever weed was legalized there. I'm curious to know, like, we have no idea what to expect. We're filming this in January. It's supposed to come into effect like mid-February.
Yep, mid-February, early March.
On the horizon. Yeah. That'll be interesting. So just know that if you're going to move to Kansas City, whether you're on the Kansas side or the Missouri side, you're going to be constantly explaining to people the difference. So good luck with that.
Yeah, the other weird thing is if you live in a suburb of Kansas City, when you go out of town, people are going to ask where you're from.
You're from Kansas City.
You're going to tell them you're from Kansas City, and they're going to say, oh, is that Missouri or Kansas? And then that's when you're going to have to go into, well, technically it's both, but, you know, oh, I live in a suburb on the Kansas side, or I live in a suburb on the Missouri side.
All right, so that wraps up our 7 things about Kansas City that drive us nuts. I hope you guys learned some stuff, and hopefully that can help you make a decision on whether you want to move to Kansas City or not. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, maybe leave us a comment, and hit the little bell so every time we make a new one of these videos, you get alerted.
Yeah, leave us a comment if there's something that we left out. Maybe something that you don't like about Kansas City that maybe we should make another video about. So let us know.
We roasted Kansas City, you guys can roast us.